I want to share some numbers with you. Anytime I am looking at an issue, a subject, a concern, I always start with the beginning of the formula, which is what do I know? What data, facts, and stats do I have? Inevitably, any issue in which I disagree with somebody is not really an element of the data, facts, and stats. It's really about how I feel about that data, facts, and stats, and absolutely what I believe matters. The issue of my emotional quotient, how I feel about things, and therefore what actions I might want to take, is grounded in my belief system, my God quotient. From whom, from what do I gain my beliefs and establish my sense of morals and ethics? So I want to address a subject that is pervasive in society right now, and has always been, which is why do people do what they do? Why do people say what they say? Life means nothing without interacting with another human being. You don't have an issue without interacting with another human being. Because we are so outrageously, mind-blowingly, in the history of humanity, as connected as we are, largely by virtue of mobile devices. The fact that we in the world have these little devices on our hips all day long, and we can interact with the world, is a human unprecedented reality. Now, it's not unprecedented in terms of the fact that we are allowed to share information, the printing press and the population of newspaper, or the expansion of newspapers, the expansion of the radio. Those were moments in history where the world suddenly opened its eyes to, oh my God, there's a lot of people out there. But today, I want to share some data, facts, and stats, some IQ, data, facts, and stats, not what you can learn in terms of how difficult it is for your brain to process. That's what we understand intellectual quotient as. We usually understand it as my ability to process information at a high level. I'm either genius, or a low level, I'm below average. It's not about that and how I use it. It's about, we all have the ability to get information. Again, genius, the IQ, maybe you can get the information faster or process it faster than someone with below average IQ. But regardless, data, facts, and stats are readily available for people. So I'm going to give you some data, facts, and stats. And then we're going to talk about it as it relates to your emotional quotient, relates to your God quotient, as it relates to your ability to have a joy-filled life in 2021. So looking just at the social media platform called Facebook, Facebook includes because they're the parent family for WhatsApp, Instagram, and Messenger. So there's the Facebook family, and then it's WhatsApp and Instagram. Looking at the world population as of January, the first week of January 2021, the world population is about 7.735 billion people in the world. At 7.735 billion people in the world, the active users who have tapped into any of these social media platforms in the last month, largely through their mobile devices, is the main platform, the way they're accessing it. 2.7 billion. If you do the math, that's approximately 35% of the world is tapping into Facebook. And then again, when you include WhatsApp and Instagram and the Messenger, the number jumps up to 3.14. So all the Facebook family in the world, almost 40% of the world population is tapped into the social media family, Facebook family. Haven't accounted for Twitters, haven't accounted for any other application, any other social media platform, just looking at the Facebook family. So approximately 40% of the world is plugged in via their computers and their devices. When you look at the US population, I'm a US citizen. Because of that, and I mostly pay attention to the US peoples from a sort of a daily basis. The US population as the first week of January 2021, the US population is sitting at 333.8 million. At almost 334 million people in the US, active Facebook users, the platform of Facebook, is upwards of 60-70% active United States citizens, 67% of the United States populace, almost 70% of the United States populace is tapped into just the Facebook platform. The power of social media. If you look back 10 years ago, again, just on the social media platform of the Facebook family, 10 years ago, there were only 739 million people utilizing the Facebook platform. This is in the world, 739 million, right? Today we have upwards of over 3 billion world users. Going back 10 years ago, there was only 739 million users. Even going back to 5 years ago, again, the world population, it had barely just hit over a billion, 1.7 billion. So I guess it's inching up on 2 billion users. My point is this, folks. When you have approximately almost 70% of the United States populace tapped into social media devices, social media platforms, sharing information instantly, 70% of the US population involved and about 40% of the world population involved, holy smokes, what is happening is you are learning what people really think. Now we're moving into EQ. Now we're moving into the most sort of confusing and that which sets apart leaders, those who have higher levels of success, health, wealth, happiness, those who are able to corral their emotions, those who are able to have a positive, effective response to the world rather than just a reaction based on how they feel. And so when we get into emotional quotient, what we discover is when it comes to social media platforms, when it comes to why are we so negative? Why is there so much vitriol? Why are people utilizing such ugly language at each other on social media platforms? Why do I have to unfriend and block and unfollow? Why so much of this? It's because we finally have the ability to really find out what people think, and what you discover is, holy heck, I don't like a lot of these people. The hard part about that, when you start recognizing you yourself do not like a lot of people, you are somebody else's block, unfollow, unfriend. Someone else has decided you are not someone they like. And I think that's probably the hardest part to recognize. And it's the reason why sort of our angst gets high. Because there is a truth. Now there is, again, my belief system, the God that I follow, that spends a lot of time telling us as followers of him, so my God being Yeshua, Adonai Eloheinu Yeshua Mahamashiach, Jesus. In the Christian world, go to Galatians 5 and read Galatians 5. And it will remind you that when it comes to speaking to our brothers and sisters in Christ in particular, but our brothers and sisters in the world, God's children, regardless of whether you know you're a brother or sister of mine or not, whether you claim Yeshua or not, the truth of the matter is this. I know that if I want to, if I believe I have some truth that I need to share with you, I have to really look at myself. As I point that finger at you and say there's something you need to learn, I got to recognize those three that are pointing directly back at me and saying, Cassandra, what do you need to learn first? Make sure you are walking the talk, because maybe this person you want to speak to hasn't seen you walk the talk enough. Maybe they're not going to receive what you have to say because they don't know you well enough. They wouldn't believe you because they've probably seen too much of your past. Think about your family members. Think about some of your closest friends. They know your secrets. They know the crap you've done. They know your history. And so all of a sudden, if you want to go and tell them something because you've had a revelation, because you have realized you need to change your ways and you are actively changing your ways, well, maybe you haven't actively changed your ways long enough. Maybe you just haven't walked in your excellence long enough for them to see it, to believe you. So maybe you're not the person to deliver that message. At the same time, maybe you are. Maybe you have proven yourself, walked the talk, proven your excellence to a brother or sister, to a friend, to a colleague, and you know they would receive you. You still have to make sure, have I myself, as I want to deliver this information, have I myself walked the talk of excellence long enough in this area that as I deliver the message, I'll be delivering it in truth, but with compassion and kindness and respect, honoring that I'm giving it to them as a gift. I am not giving it to them so that they can see that I'm right. Because if that's the point, if I'm pointing the finger at them so they can see I'm right, then the fingers pointed back to me are fingers of pride and arrogance. So folks, this goes way deep. I don't want to spend too much more time. But when I talk about IQ, EQ, GQ as a combination adding to your happiness, I come to you today specifically because it is a formula. And when you begin to start understanding that there's data and information, and there's ways to process through how you feel, and then ways to understand what your God might have to say about it. When you understand the three of those in combination and can walk that dance, that beautiful dance of those three chords sort of mixed together, your happiness quotient, your health, wealth, success, happiness, peace, joy, freedom will increase overall regardless of what people are doing around you, regardless of who's president, regardless of what new law gets passed and whether I get to use the pronouns he, she, or I got to start using they and them, or whether I have to acquiesce to some other rule that tells me I have to give up more of my money. It's just a new data point in an evolving world where we as humans are constantly called to look at ourselves first. So if you are a brother and sister in Christ, I encourage you to go read Galatians 5 and meditate it on a little bit. If you have no idea who Jesus is and you find that name offensive, I hope that you have listened and heard the truth in this message. If you like numbers and data and facts and stats, I pray that those numbers about social media, for those of you who enjoy social media platforms, those of you who recognize it is the way of the world, our social media platforms, I hope you will learn to embrace them for what they offer, because we are connected now with the world. It's exciting. This is exciting. It's kind of wild, right? So embrace it for the joy that it is. Folks, my name is Cassandra Vitaka. I am your personal excellence drill sergeant, and I will yell at you for the rest of this year about things for you to increase your efficacy, your peace, your joy, your happiness, and therefore your overall sense of peace and freedom. I pray this was helpful. Shalom.